Tenons have always played a large part in my work. Typical for me is to isolate the mass needed with a round edge butcher or something similar, and then draw down the peg under the power hammer, stepping down through each size until I reach my desired dimension. I finish with the monkey tool. The monkey tool is going to dress the shoulder, not the tenon itself, and there is a chamfer to the end of the monkey tool which leaves a slight chamfer to the root of the tenon, preventing stress risers from overly sharp transitions. With the tools and techniques that we used for forging the ball in an earlier video, you can isolate the mass needed for a tenon. My issue is trying to draw down the tenon material using my hand hammer and the edge of the anvil. I usually end up killing the shoulder as I work the material near the root of the tenon. The arrows indicate both the damage to the shoulder and the edge of the face of my hammer. So I need a workaround. If I leave the root of the tenon unforged, I run the risk of creating cold shuts with my monkey tool when I'm trying to dress the shoulder. Or at the very least, I'm going to be working too hard with the monkey tool as I dress the shoulder. Let's go from one extreme to the other. Let's use a sharp butcher to isolate the tenon material. You'll notice when I use the butcher that I hit flat on the flats of the material, and I have my hammer at an angle when I'm working the corners. This way I'm preventing damage to the corners of the parent bar. Here I'm drawing down the tenon using the simple guillotine tool that we showed in an earlier YouTube video. Note that the dies are sharp near the root of the tenon, not something that I recommend. Two reasons. One is that you run the risk of creating cracks or cold shuts as you draw down the tenon, and two, no spare material for the chamfer at the base or the root of the tenon. I have two butcher-edged hardy hot cuts, one sharp and one with about a 1/16 of an inch radius, half round. If you're going to use a butcher to isolate the tenon material, I recommend using a stand by the anvil to keep the bar horizontal and square to the butcher. Here, to get closer to the root of the tenon without damaging the tenon shoulder, I'm using a set hammer. This one was made by Jonathan Lambert of blacksmithing.com. All four edges of the set hammer have been relieved, allowing me to turn the set hammer, something that I find useful when I'm dressing the tenon to round. Alternatively, if you built the simple guillotine tool, you can put blocks into it to simulate the anvil and the set hammer. Note that my blocks have a relieved edge near the root of the tenon and slope away at the other side. The slope away allows me to dress the end of the tenon with my hand hammer at the edge of the anvil without creating cold shuts or cracks. One nice thing about having a radius at the base of the tenon at this stage is that you can move a off-centered tenon over a little using your hand hammer. The 1/16 inch radius that you used on your butcher allows for a much easier cleanup of the shoulder with your monkey tool. Going back to the simple guillotine tool and using a 45-degree cut on the blocks, you can, with your edges relieved to 1/16 inch radii or 1/8 of an inch half round, you can now both butcher and isolate the tenon material to draw down the root of the tenon. Here I'm cutting to an octagon cross section. Because these tools get hot, I have two of them, one with the butcher dies and one with a set of flat dies with the edges relieved. That way I can swap the tools out as I need them, especially for multiple tenons. After drawing down the root to octagon under the guillotine tool, I dress the end to round with my hand hammer on the anvil. Then I go back to the guillotine and take the root to round before I monkey up the shoulder. If you like this style of blacksmithing, check out my website, markaspery.com, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.